Hello everybody, this is the Rabid Hedgehog, and this was a request from a viewer to do the 2016 Harley-Davidson Iron 883. The Harley-Davidson Iron 883 is actually the first bike I ever owned. That was my own personal bike and everything. Ridden many bikes before it and many bikes since, but this is the original bike I had. And I have to say, I mean, it's kind of an old friend, I guess you could say. The 883 engine is actually a fairly strong and okay engine for a base engine. You know, it's not as powerful as the 1200, not by any means, of course, but it works out really well. The Evolution engine, of course, does have some decent engine braking, just like the 1200 series does. Works really well. On the Iron, it's a very simple deal whenever you got it. You just get on the right side, you have your hazard switches, your on-off and your start switches and your right turn button. On the left, you have your display change, which goes through your trip odometers, regular odometer, clock, and also gear counter and tachometer, which you'll see pop up there. So you'll see that you know, that's actually a handy feature to have the gear counter and stuff, especially on this bike. This is kind of the entry level into Harley beside the street. So, you know, it does really well. And the one thing about it, you're going to get a lot of vibes out of this bike. I mean, the Evolution engine is a very vibrating engine. That's one thing that I don't miss. It vibrates quite a bit. Now this one is a little bit smoother because it just doesn't vibrate as much as the 1200 for some reason. I can actually see through the mirrors, but this one still got the same complaint as my original Iron, is that it has the mirrors so tight in. Even if I try to adjust the best I can, all I see is my elbow or shoulder. So they're not wide enough. So what I did, and what a lot of people do with the Iron, is they flip these mirrors out, which actually improves the vision quite a bit more than you'd expect. So flip the mirrors when you get one of these. It helps it out quite a bit. When it comes down to the, like I said, the rest of the controls, you got your bright switches and your horn and your left turn signal over here. The friction zone's pretty responsive on the Iron. It's about halfway up whenever you're going through it, so not too bad at all. 3.3 gallon gas tank on the Iron versus the 48 and the 72, which are only 2.1 gas tank. So, and that's tiny. So this bike actually can go quite a bit longer distance. When I had one of these, it was not uncommon for me to reach 160 miles before I needed to fill up. If I rode it right, if I rode it stupid, then, you know, 130 miles would be where it would really be complaining the most. So it really depends on how you ride it, of course. It's how much fuel economy you're going to get. Now, this bike comes in with a 28.9 inch seat height. The suspension on this thing is brutal. It's like I remember it, absolutely brutal. So it bounces you out of the saddle. It does some things that rocks you around. Now the Iron is a mid-mount peg versus a forward mount peg like on some of the other Sportsters, which I actually prefer the mid-mount on the Sportster. So when you get on here, you actually get on and you can turn really well. The chassis is really good. The 584 pounds when it's fully wet melts away just fine. So it's actually really cool when it comes down to a good, quick, very easy riding bike. I really do like this bike. Like I said, I started with it, and there's a reason why I started with it. I'm scraping little indicator. I'm still used to this bike, surprisingly. I thought I'd lose it a little bit. Now, you can make this bike go. You know, you can tell I'm not going too terribly fast to scrape the peg because it doesn't have much of a lean angle. There we go again. But it's, you know, still a great bike. Now, this bike does have enough power for the highway just fine. You can actually get this bike if you bring her out a little bit to about 110 as its maximum speed. So it does all right. I mean, it does really good in the highway. It does really good on speed. I mean, overall, it's a very well-balanced bike. The only complaints, like I said, would be, you know, your freaking suspension is tight as heck. Your mirrors suck. But everything else about the bike is pretty good. Even for my frame, I can sit on it pretty decently. One thing about the new seat, though, versus the older seat that I had, is the darn thing is very kind of, how do you put it, not comfortable. I like the older seat that it had on it. This ribbed one for the 2016 model year kind of sucks. But I mean, it's still a great looking bike. It's not a girl's bike by any means. It's still a great bike for anybody to ride. Great commuter bike. You know, you're gonna just deal with the vibrations, you're gonna deal with the heat coming off the back cylinder. But I mean, it's an honest to goodness, straightforward, very simply engineered bike. And that's why I liked it when I got it. And that's why I still like it today. So when it comes to the 883 iron, it's still a Rabid Hedgehog bike. I mean, it's still a very comfortable motorcycle. Like I said, very flickable, very compliant ride, and probably one of the better Harleys. I really love the Sportster chassis. I don't know why, despite me being a little bit tall for them. So at any rate, this is the Rabid Hedgehog. If you have any questions on the 883 iron, please let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer anytime. I hope you like the new camera angle. I'm trying it out for the first time. It's still my Sony. I just used the GoPro mount and put it on the forward end of my helmet, so it sticks out a mile long, but heck, it works pretty good to me. So I hope you guys like it. Catch you on the flip side. Enjoy the ride.